Heyo, this is Thoughts and Opinions Are Our Own. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Kirk.
Kirk.
Yes.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. We've had a busy season here.
Oh, for sure. It's a fun season.
It's a fun season.
It's a very fun time for us.
I know we just celebrated your birthday.
Thank you.
Well, a while ago we did that podcast.
Yeah.
And Jordan, I was thinking about that. One of those questions that I think I asked you during the kind of get to know Jordan for his birthday was goals.
Oh,
goals.
sure.
And you know what your goals were for the next year. You know what 1 year goal was, 5 year goals.
I'm
So
gonna
then-
be 30.
So then I was thinking about using kind of that train of thought and then taking it to the next, maybe thinking about doing like a vision board.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I know that's been maybe popular with some people the last maybe 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was reading, there was a study I was reading the other day about vision boards and people making goals. And there was, I don't know, 5,000 people they surveyed or whatever. It said 80% of those people that they surveyed literally had no goals for the future.
Ooh.
80% did not.
Oh my gosh.
So 20% did. So of the 5,000, only 20% actually had goals for the future. 15% they had goals and they actually would not write them down. So they thought about their goals, but they wouldn't write them down.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, why wouldn't? Okay. 4% they had the goals. Now they would write them down, but they wouldn't even look at the piece of paper that they wrote the goals on. So now you're down to 4%. They have goals.
Yeah.
They're actually taking time to write them down, but they don't even look at them. And then finally, literally 1% surveyed, they had goals, they would write them down, and they would look at that daily.
Oh.
And those
okay.
were the most, of those 5,000 people, those were the most people that were successful. So I was thinking, hey, vision board, again, I know it's kind of maybe a popular topic the last few years. Maybe you and I could do that.
Oh.
Maybe you and I could challenge ourselves. We could challenge our listening audience
Sure.
to come up with some kind of goals or vision board. And here's some of these people that I've been reading about and watching some of their interviews. One was her name is Gloria, and she was a preacher way back in the day in the 60s and 70s. And
Female preacher, whoop whoop.
female preacher, yes. And her husband was working, full time. She was a preacher, but she was also a mom and a wife. She was when she wasn't preaching, she was a stay-at-home mom, I think, with their 2-year-old daughter. And they were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And there's nothing wrong with a 1-bedroom apartment, but she was thinking down the road she would like to have a nice house.
Yeah, definitely.
And as her family expands, her daughter could have her own room. Son could have his own room. Her husband could maybe have a work study, whatever, and she as a preacher could have her own, study.
Yeah.
So she literally did a vision board back in the late 60s, early 70s, got out like a poster board, found a magazine, started snipping out photos of a nice home. And she knew whether it's an upstairs, downstairs, basement, front yard, backyard, what the porch looks like. And sure enough, I think it was like 10, 15 years later. So it took a while, but she looked at that. And she said, we're going to have that house. And sure enough, they had that house.
That is amazing.
Preacher Gloria. There you go.
Love it.
Another example is a thing about basketball. There was a coach named Jim Valvano.
Great name.
Yep, great name. From North Carolina State. He was the head coach there. And in the fall of 1982, they were getting ready for their year.
It's the 80s again.
80s, yeah, love the 80s. And he said, usually, the basketball is a winter season, so it starts in the fall, and then it goes through, December, January, February, and then March Madness. So then at the end, they do this NCAA tournament, and usually the winning team, there's a tradition. Sometimes the confetti falls down, and they get the trophy, and they high-five and hug.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, they get a ladder, and it's some tradition way back when, and they get some scissors, and they one at a time, they'll walk up the ladder, and they'll take they'll snip down a little piece of the net.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Like as a memory of this is the net that we want to. So Jim Valvano, this is now fall of 1982. He said, guys, and they had a good team. I don't know if they were ranked in the top 10, maybe top 15, but they had a good team. He said, guys, today we're going to practice, not shooting layups, not shooting free throws, not defense. He goes, guys, we're going to practice when we win this NCAA championship this year. We're going to practice how to walk up that ladder, get the scissors, cut down the nets.
Wow.
Who goes first, who's second, getting in line, and who's the last person. And I remember watching an interview with some of the players years later, and they said when he said that to our we were looking at each other going, wait, we're going to practice how to cut down a net? And Jordan, sure enough, in April of 1983, North Carolina State, they won the NCAA championship. And when they got to that,
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
knew what to do because they had practiced it. Everybody
Oh
knew.
my
You guys are getting the ladder. Where are the
Yeah.
scissors? Who's going first? Who's going second? Who's in the last? And everybody knew what to do because they had practiced that. That was his vision board,
Yeah.
per se.
Oh, I love that story.
Thank you.
That's a really good one.
Last person, kind of going with the basketball theme. Guy's name is Shane Battier.
Okay.
From
Another great name.
From Michigan. Played high school ball here. Really good high school player. He goes to play at Duke University.
Yeah.
One of his goals growing up, I remember he said he would write them down like on an index card. So he didn't do like the whole poster board thing, but he said it was like little, whatever, 5 by 10, whatever, index cards. He said a couple of his goals was to play college basketball, was to win the NCAA championship like North Carolina State did in 1983, but he wanted to win it at Duke. This is like, 18 years later. And he wanted to be the very best basketball player in college that he could be. Sure enough, spring of 2001, he and his Duke teammates, they win the national championship.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he is voted as the very best men's basketball player NCAA Division I. It's called the John Wooden Award. He wins the award.
That's
And I remember one of his
incredible.
quotes. He said, growing up, he's like, "Wow, this actually does work." So there you go. You've got Preacher Gloria
Yeah.
as a family. What was the best thing she could provide for her family? A house. Coach Valvano, what's the goal? What's the vision? How to cut down the net after the game's over?
Yeah.
How we're going to celebrate when we win the national championship. Shane Battier, and little index cards. He learned that like middle school, high school, how to win the NCAA championship and how to be the very best basketball player. Have you heard anybody maybe that maybe any stories along those lines? Maybe that they did something kind of similar.
Yeah. Right off the top of my head, I think of Lily Singh. She's a YouTuber. She's from Canada, but I think she lives here in the States now. She goes by Superwoman.
Superwoman, sure.
On YouTube. So I think she started her channel literally 10 years ago, back in 2010. And over time it's grown, but she's made last I heard, she made 3 vision boards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she said each one works. So the first one was, I know she wanted to be verified on Twitter. Like,
Okay.
you're the real deal.
Yep.
The second one was she wanted to be in the Forbes magazine, and they ranked her, like, one of the top 10 YouTubers.
Okay.
Then she wanted the YouTube like plaque award, like if you get like it's the gold plaque, I think. I
Okay.
think she got like 1 million subscribers or views. So she got it.
Wow.
And then the 2 that I think are really cool, she wanted to meet Beyonce, and she thought that was like so hard to achieve. She couldn't do it. She's like Queen Bey. She puts it on her vision board. A few months later, they're both at the same party, and she meets Beyonce.
Wow.
So I'm like, what? I knew she wanted to be on some late night talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
So she goes on those shows. I think she meets Seth Meyers too, and now she has her own talk show host.
Wow.
Or talk show, yeah. And then she met The Rock, so she's kind of a big wig. Like, she's worked with some like super cool celebrities. And I don't know if this year's vision board has worked for her, but
Okay.
I mean, it's been pretty successful. And she did a whole YouTube
Yeah.
video about how to like create one.
How to do the vision board.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about even in the Bible, in the Proverbs, it says,
yeah.
where there is no vision, the people perish.
Ooh, that's deep, man.
Jordan, we don't want to perish. We don't
No.
want our listeners to perish.
Heck no. We
So-
want life.
We want life. Amen. So, Jordan, we're gonna challenge each other, and here are some topics. And again, for our
Categories.
listening audience, yes, here's some subjects, categories. And if you could put them all on your vision board, and if you want to do the project with us, or you can just pick one. Say this I like this topic more than others.
Sure.
Here's 5 that I came up with. Let me know if these are okay.
Yeah.
First one is physically. So
Yeah,
physically,
definitely.
I think what's a goal, what's a vision? Do you want to
I have a wedding I want to look good for.
Yeah, exactly.
Not mine, but a family member's.
Is there something
Not
special?
mine yet.
is there a dress?
Yeah.
Is there an outfit you like to
Yeah.
wear? A special pair of jeans? Maybe they're a little snug now, so you want to get in shape, lose a few pounds.
Sure.
Again, maybe you want to maybe you're an athlete. Maybe like like Shane Battier. Maybe there's something physically like I'm thinking about track or a marathon. Maybe you want to be in the top
Better at my serve for
50% for tennis. Get better at my serve. Basketball.
Find a good doubles partner.
There you go. So again, shoot a higher percentage, free throws, 3-point shot.
Yeah.
So again, physically. So how what are your goals?
Yeah.
Next one would be mentally.
Ooh.
And I think with mentally, the word that came to me would be like triggers. And I know, yeah, it's kind of a, okay, popular topic, but, but there really are triggers in the world. And I think of somebody close to me. It's not you, but somebody close to me. One of her triggers literally is going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I know it kind of maybe sounds silly, but she has really stressed out.
Really sad,
Just going to the grocery store. So thankfully, one of the grocery stores that we go to here locally, they have this thing called the Click List. Mm-hmm. And you can order your, what your groceries would be, and you pay them I think it's $10 extra.
This is not an ad, and this is not a promotion.
No, we are not supporting. No, we are not endorsing.
I mean, we love it, but we are not endorsing it.
But we do the Click List, and this person in my life, she is so much happier when she physically doesn't have to go. There you go. So mentally.
I think of a social detox or a social media cleanse, like just getting off of my phone.
Yes.
I'll admit I spend too much time, for sure, on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
But yeah, just like getting off, literally kind of like just going off the grid.
Okay.
I wish I could do that at work sometimes too, but.
And I would think that would maybe emotionally then. So maybe the next topic, the next subject would be emotionally. How can we, what's the goal emotionally? So yeah, maybe you're exactly right. Maybe the next step would be, social media. Maybe there's someone, I know it's kind of another hot, term is toxic. Maybe there's someone toxic in your life.
Yeah.
And, you got to see them every day. Maybe you work with them. Maybe it could be a neighbor, maybe a family member, maybe someone you're like,
coworker.
You're like, you know what?
A church goer.
It could be, but you're like, you know what? I really have to give some space between me and that person.
Definitely.
Or, just, discern when to talk to them and then when to kind of pull back and just kind of give yourself
their
some
mood, catch their vibe.
Yes.
Did they pass the vibe check?
There you go. Okay, two more.
Sure.
Spiritually, and I'm like, okay, spiritually, how can we? Well, and then the word that came to me would be forgiveness.
Wow, we're hitting some deep zingers tonight.
This is deep. We could do probably a whole podcast on forgiveness, but I really feel like probably everyone listening to the podcast probably has at least one or two people that you're like, you know what, I did get offended, or very seriously, maybe it's even dark, someone really tried to hurt them on purpose, and they did get hurt, and so
there's still pain,
there's still some anger, maybe resentment, bitterness, and you're like, how can I get past this? How can I get victory? How can I get closure? Because spiritually, I would like to grow. I would like to get stronger.
You want to move on.
You don't want to get stuck in what happened maybe 5, 10, 20,
Break
25.
That cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Break a cycle. Yes. If it's a bad habit, if it's a bad, again. So, and then the last one would be, financially. Everybody has money. Everybody has to figure out their budget.
Dollar bills, yo.
There you go. So you got to figure out, what's important to you, coming up with a budget. Again, going back to Preacher Gloria, she knew she was working as a preacher. Her husband was working. At the time, they could only afford a 1-bedroom apartment. But she knew, again, as her family expands, she would like to live in a bigger house. And so she did it. And so financially, again, what can you do for a budget? What is your goal? A year from now, 5 years from now? Is it a house? Is it a car? Is it just more money in the bank? You're saving up for a special trip. So anyhow, those topics, does that all make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm excited.
Okay.
I think I have momentum and energy now, so I think I should go and make my vision board right now. What do you think?
So if we do this,
yeah,
you think we should come back later, maybe on a part 2 of this podcast then for vision board, and maybe share some of the things that...
You hear that? You're going to get up close and personal.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
With Kirk and Jordan.
With Kirk and Jordan. Okay, so let's do that. Let's plan on a part 2 podcast then.
Definitely.
And hopefully, again, listeners, if you have some time, if you want to join in, and but we really feel like this is where we are tonight.
Try to find us. Hit us up and share it with us. All right. So I think we have goals now.
Yes.
We have a goal to make a vision board.
Yes.
And then we'll come back and
we'll share. Part 2 later.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go build my vision board.
All right.
So take it easy, and we'll see you later.
Rock and roll.